So yeah, we're down here from Tennessee, just doing some documenting, and we're down here at the convention.
One he has coming out on September 17th is Messengers of Liberty and
For Liberty.
Messengers for Liberty at FOR.
Okay.
Liberty, and you know, it's basically about the movement that we have going on.
It's kind of a grassroots movement. Also, really talking about the issues, the war on drugs, you know, the Constitution, civil liberties, the mainstream media, and how they operate, and really kind of like what and why a lot of us are so passionate with the message of liberty.
To keep the troops in Afghanistan, he wants to keep bases in Iraq. That is not what our troops want.
My name is Stephen Lord. I was a corporal in the United States Marine Corps for almost 4 years, and I just got out and I'm trying to serve my country this way now.
Stand united, FSU.
Hey buddy, make your mind up. Now, would you say one of the main points is getting people to engage more, not just vote D or R, and figure out, you know, what's behind the candidates instead of just the party?
Exactly. I really think it's not even necessarily about voting. It's just about changing the way people think about what's really going on with the issues, and I think that's where it starts. You have to get people to question what's happening. If you wonder why the economy sucks, it's because you could look at the fact that our national debt, we're $16 trillion in debt, and we continue to print money, and that we can't pay back. So it's absurd that that the mainstream media does not even address this. And if you wonder why that is, it's because they are on an agenda, and they're owned by the corporations that are owned by the banks that are basically funded by the Federal Reserve.
Support him?
Well, you know, I got, my old platoon. I just got out of the Marine Corps. My old platoon is coming back from Afghanistan, and I'm just trying to keep them from having to go to Syria next. You know?
Yep.
So, I mean, Ron Paul's the only one that really wants to keep the troops, bring them home, defend America. He wants to stop the wars of aggression, and that's part of what I'm about. You know, it's not just.
Do you see any hope for Mitt Romney doing any of those things?
I see zero hope for Mitt Romney doing any of those things. I think if Mitt Romney is president, I think we will end up going to Syria.
Sorry. Sorry.
Well, you don't want to discourage people from coming out to protest. That's for one. That's what America's all about. We have our First Amendment right. It's the First Amendment for a reason, Right next to it, of course, is our Second Amendment right to bear arms. And both of those go hand in hand, because if they're messing with your First Amendment right, and we have our Second Amendment right to bear arms, it has nothing to do with self-defense. People think that the Second Amendment of the Constitution has to do with self-defense. It doesn't have to do with self-defense. It has to do with rising up against a tyrannical government and being armed, to do that. So they don't like to teach that in school, but the reality is that's what it's about. So, and it's right next to our First Amendment. But it's kind of sad that there's not many people here. There's a lot to be protesting right now in America. Unless people just think things are going great and dandy and all fine, they should be here objecting and protesting and letting their voice be heard. Because I think that if our founders were to see this right now, that that they fought so hard in the American Revolution for our First Amendment right, and they come here and they lived here and they saw nobody out here protesting, nobody out here screaming and objecting what's going on, I think they'd be very upset and disappointed with where our country's gone to. And I just hope that we can have a change in the next 4 years, and the country can be saved.
I'd like to add to that, one thing that I think really has woken a lot of the liberty movement up is the passage of the National Defense Authorization Act, which was signed New Year's Eve, December 31st of 2011. But you know, let me get a shot of that real quick. Yeah, let me get a shot of this real quick.
And what do you think about Ron Paul's attempt to stop the military state here?
I think it's great. I think that America was set up on a set of principles, and this stuff right here, you have National Guard blocking the road for people who are trying to get into a convention. That doesn't seem like fair and free elections to me.
Are they allowing anybody closer, or is this as close as people can get if they don't have
This is as close as you can get.
And this is,
like I said, you got National Guard. You have National Guard troops here trying to prevent, you know, any individuals from going over there and exercising their First Amendment rights.
And would you see a major difference between, say, Fox News and CNN or MSNBC, or do you think they're all kind of playing the same game?
Well, they play the same game to different parts. I mean, it's all about the big corporations. I mean, MSNBC is, you know, far left. And what's interesting about MSNBC is you got to realize that move forward, that lean forward slogan they use, and that's a communist slogan. I mean, it was used by Stalin, it was used by a lot of communists throughout the 1900s. And so it's a little scary when I see that. And of course, Obama has that too. And we actually did a podcast about that. So, you know, it's kind of scary that they're actually, you know, throwing that propaganda out on TV, and people are biting. All the Democrats are biting on that, and even the Republicans, they're not objecting because they don't really know. I'm sure they've done their research. But yeah, you got Fox, who's the right media, and you know it's garbage too. You got O'Reilly, you know, saying the no spin zone, and you know, preaching how he doesn't spin things and how it's real, and it's just bad because it really keeps you know, people that don't really get it and believe what they're seeing on TV and let's say, oh, this is the real deal. You know, this guy's speaking the truth because he's just saying it. But in fact, he's not speaking the truth. He's speaking his opinion, and sometimes a slanted opinion to fit his purpose. So you have to kind of think about that too and keep your mind open. But they're both garbage, and yeah, they're both what's wrong with America today.
That's what I'm saying right here, right now. Give the people some room. There's no reason for you to be here. There's no reason for you to have your sticks out, in fact. In my book, it's just 2 inches shy of assault. I can see that you have intent to use a deadly weapon. I can see your intent because you have a weapon in your hand.
You know, and it's not just about the wars. You know, obviously having a secure country doesn't mean anything if your dollar's not worth anything and you can't fund the troops to pay them to do what they do. Because veterans deserve to have the money that they pay for. They're serving our country. They make very little money as it is. And when I was overseas in Okinawa, Japan, they were talking about not paying anybody in the military for a solid month. That was a legitimate thing they were passing down. You know, fortunately, it didn't come to fruition, but you know.
Do you find it annoying that the only thing that they're supposed to do, which is protect our country, protect our borders, seems to be the only thing falling behind?
That's infuriating to me that that's going on right now.
Especially as somebody from the military.
Yes, especially as somebody from the military. I have friends that are getting deployed to combat zones, and they're going over there for what? They're going over there for the guy on their left and their right. They're not going over there for American freedom. So, I mean, we got to have a sound currency. We got to have a military that's staying in America, and that's defending America the way that they're supposed to, the way they were constitutionally told to, and that's really what I'm about with Ron Paul.
Like, we came here, that building right there, that building right there, and they're all facing on another stage, fucking, what, 1,000 yards away from the actual convention? Yeah, that's what is that? Tell me what that is.
That's how you derail a march.
I didn't come down all the way from Jersey to fucking protest.
So what's that? Is that a distraction, right?
Yeah, they are a fucking plan distraction. How did they get a stage? Why don't we have a stage? Yeah, they're fucking playing.
To like break up the protest?
Yep. They want to focus it on the Westboro Baptist instead of here.
We're a bunch of
we're not here to hit anyone. That's not why we're here.
None of us are.
My attention at the real problem.
This machine that is showing up. I know what's going on.
Okay. Once again, your very presence is a little provocative. I hope you're aware of that. And, you know, this sort of provocation is really unnecessary. It's not necessary for the conducting of free speech here in Tampa. We appreciate that you spend a lot of money on these uniforms, but come on, they don't even have air conditioning in them. What good are they?
Just to continue on with the NDAA, yeah, that's really what I think really set the tone for a lot of us to become active. And I mean, if you're out there and you got a computer, just Google NDAA Section 1021. It's basically the indefinite detainment of American citizens suspected of terrorism. But here's the catch: there is no due process. So they can literally haul you off to Guantanamo Bay, and you have no right. You have no lawyer.
Are we changing shifts, or are we just adding more to the mix for fun?
But he was for Obama. He thought he was the answer, and I just basically told him about the NDAA. He had no idea about it, and that's what's happening in this country. People have no clue about these things that are slipping in that are unconstitutional. So if you're watching out there and you're looking at like, well, who should I vote for? You need to look at their voting record and you need to read the Constitution.